I'm so excited. We've never had a rock star on before. So,
You still don't.
yeah, he's clearly the drummer of Tech School Tyrants, the punk band.
Yeah.
Tech school tyrants. Way to bring it, buddy. I knew we could count on you.
I like the drum set.
Awesome.
Play the
Yes.
music.
Hey, Nick. What's up, buddy?
Man, I'm pumped about this.
Me too. Me too. I have been loving this series, this Gen CNC series, and just really inspiring to see all these young shop founders. But an important component of the next generation of CNC machinists and people that lead in the industry is the education.
Mhm.
Not everyone is destined to be a founder, but it is critical that our industry have a strong pipeline of machinists coming in and technical people. And we know that's a challenge.
The number
We know
1
that
challenge,
the number one for
for
the
like a
last 10
decade
years.
straight. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
according to every survey ever done in the machining industry. So I think what's critical and what I've seen in my travels is that there are pockets of really brilliant programs that are just creating excellent people, but it's pockets. It's not widespread. It's not everywhere. It's not ubiquitous. And so, with the sort of workforce development element of Gen CNC, we want to highlight those programs that are really effective, that have been, in existence for a long time, or just doing great work. And so today we have Gary. Is it Nadeau?
NATO, yeah, NATO.
NATO, sorry, Gary, from Westfield Technical Academy, which apparently has been going for 100 years, and we just discerned that means Gary is not the founder of it. So,
Or
but
he's
he
the best
is
looking 100-year-old man you've ever seen.
exactly.
Uh,
But he is leading the charge for the last while, and we wanted to bring him on. And I got introduced to him through a customer of mine who I got to visit recently, Gary Posnecker from Spectrum Design and Machine in Connecticut. And Gary's actually in Massachusetts, just over the border, because all those states back there are just small and tiny, and so you
And
can
everyone's
easily
named Gary.
and everyone's named Gary. Yeah.
and
Um, but I was just blown away by what I saw there. And Gary, my customer, said that Gary has been giving him amazing graduates and employees now for a long time. And so I figured we should have this Gary on the show. So welcome, Gary. Glad to have you here.
Thanks. Well, good to be here.
So Gary, the academy, is that like a special high school, or is it a public school? Kinda describe the school a little bit for
Yeah,
us.
so it is a public school. It used to be Westfield Tech, or Westfield Vocational Technical High School. I wanna say about 8 or 9 years ago now, they changed the school to Westfield Technical Academy. I for, political reasons, probably, I have no idea why, but, so and before that, it was Westfield Trade, so it's actually changed names 3, 4 times, but we have been in existence for quite some while, and New England's a hub of aerospace technology, defense work, so precision manufacture, we've been feeding that industry now for quite some time. I myself have been teaching there, this is my 23rd year, at the school. Most important things for us is business and relationship. Having relationships with our businesses, and they know what we deliver for a long period of time now. They've been hiring our students, so they know what to expect, and the feedback is always good.
That's awesome. So you're working very closely, it sounds like, with, academia and industry and exactly how to prepare the young people for the workforce?
Correct.
That's so good.
So, yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how the program actually works. Is it something that students can do starting as a freshman or only at a certain year? And how much time do they spend? Is there any kind of component of it that's an apprenticeship where they go work at a shop as well? Just share the whole thing with us.
Mhm.
So the structure of our school is they come in, they apply to our school, so they have to be accepted into our school. It is part of the Westfield public school system. We have two high schools, a traditional high school and a technical high school. We do occasionally take out of district students that apply. And once they're accepted into the program, the structure of our program is right from ninth grade. Every other week, they are in academics, and then every other week they spend in shop. The
Wow.
first part of their freshman year, the first half, we don't get our students as freshmen until, like, after the new year. So the first half of their freshman year is what we call exploratory. So the basic way that we do this is in our school we have 12 shops. So the all the students will explore all 12 shops for one day. They will then pick 5 of those shops that they would like to explore further. The 5 shops that they pick, they will explore for 1 week. So, we get 1 day to, like, pique their interest. Then they come
Mhm.
through, and then through the we get a little bit more down and dirty for the 1 week that they're with us to kinda really show them what we do. They're introduced to the machines. They're even during that 1 day, they're actually running. We have some simple parts that we program that they'll run on machines. We get them doing something. So after they pick their shop, we then so it's like after I always say they're our Christmas present, right? In the new year, we get our student and hopefully they stay. We do have some, there's some attrition 'cause
Sure.
I always say we're saying to 14-year-old kids, "What do you wanna do for the rest of your life?" They're like, "I don't know what I wanna do this weekend, man," so it's
Yeah.
really hard to say, "Okay, this is what you're doing." So, really, their whole freshman year is considered an exploratory so they can switch in and out. But primarily, the majority of our students will get in the beginning of right in January, and we start them right away. We really could stay a month in the classroom just getting them going, but we get them right on machines and get them going. Through the course of that, in their freshman year, they're running track machines, so they're doing some manual lathe, manual Bridgeport stuff, which are also track machines. So they'll eventually learn to program them. We have some stuff set up in our C. We have CNC machines as well, so they'll run some parts through the CNC machines to get a feel for what it is. We spend a lot of time talking to them about cooperative education, which is hopefully the goal for them. So after their freshman year, we have them if they stay through, have them a whole solid year. Their sophomore year, their junior year is also we have them for their junior year. Towards the end of the junior year, we start introducing them to business and industry. So we set up right around now. We're setting up interviews with business and industry. We have a good relationship with businesses. We know what our businesses are looking for, what are used to, what their strengths are, what their customer base is, and we've worked with these students. So if little Johnny comes and says, "I want to be an engineer," and I know that engineering isn't really his strong suit, we try to make really good matches. So I think one of the reasons for our success, we have a 100% placement rate for all of our seniors. Occasionally, because of grades and things like that, they might come off, but then they go back out. Um, and every once in a while, there's a hiccup here or there, but for the most part, all of our students that come through get placement. So in their senior year, that every other week that they would normally be in shop, they're at Gary's place working there for 1 week. Then they come back to their academics. Then that following week they go back, and we try to start them off at $2 an hour over minimum wage, which that's something that we've arrange with business and industry. The businesses that can and the students that excel, they a lot of times they'll get raises by the end of the summer. The summer between their junior and senior year, we try to get them out on co-op so that they're there. So they get inundated with that culture for a full 8 weeks of what it's like to work for a 40 to 45-hour work week. So that then
Mhm.
when they come back in their senior year, when it's senior year, there's a lot going on in your senior year. So at the very beginning of it, if they're trying to work that out as well as trying to keep their classes up, and if they have athletics and doing all the things that you do in your senior, the fun things you do in your senior year and the important things you do in your senior year. So they're acclimated over the summer so they can just right into their senior year smoothly go in. So we actually don't see our seniors very much. Because they're
Mhm.
out working, hopefully.
Wow.
So that's kind of how the format of the school works.
Man, that's awesome.
Gosh, absolutely.
So you mentioned that early part of their freshman year, you're trying to pique their interest and see what they're interested in, but and I wanna get into that in a second. Let's take a step back to how your interest was piqued. Like, what got you into the industry, and how did you get such a passion for manufacturing and then ultimately teaching others how to do it?
Yeah. So back then we actually used the lines on the dials when I started in the trade.
Yeah.
CNC was in its infancy, but yeah, I graduated. I actually went to a Catholic high school, believe it or not. So it wasn't through a vocational high school, but and I went to college, and back then it was computer programming, get into computer programming, and I went. my dad said, "You're going to college." So I went to college and I went to a computer programming class, and it was all binary numbers, 1 0 0 0 1 0, and I was like, "I do not,
Yeah, yeah,
I do
not for
not.
you, huh?
This is not me." I'm just, and I was a hands-on person, and my neighbor, his name was Dave Jakes, taught at a place called Western Mass Precision Institute. He taught a 4-month free crash course in machining. My
Oh.
dad's like, "Well, you don't wanna go to college, you gotta do something for a career, apply to this school." So I went to that school. That's where I got interested in machining, and I love working my hands, love building stuff, love doing stuff, had a lot of mechanical interests. So I took to it, enjoyed it, and then, my first job was at a place called Night Machine, a small job shop. I think we were maybe 6 or 7 guys. And from there, I worked at a larger factory. It's Subaki now. It was a chain company. I worked in their tool room making dies and stuff like that. And so I only had 4 different jobs in the trade, as a machinist, did die and mold work, tool making work. And my last place was a job shop as well in Westfield. I had a child who had some sicknesses, who he got sick, and I'm like, we started learning that, he might have some challenges when he was older, and I'm like, I really wouldn't. If something happens to him, I don't wanna have slaved away for 60 hours a week in a shop and make ends meet. And when I was at Millwright Machine, I used to train the guys that came in on. At that time, I was running a 3-axis Prototrack, and one of the guys I trained said, "You're really good at explaining things. Have you ever thought about being a teacher?" And after I got done laughing, I said, "Yeah," I said, "Yeah, right." I was like, "First of all, college isn't for me, blah blah blah." And he explained how becoming a vocational teacher works. To become a vocational teacher, you take a practical test that you can prove you can do what you do. You take a written test, all on manufacturing, have nothing to do with your English and math and all that kind of stuff. And then you have to take, I think it was like you got 36 credits in teaching pedagogy, how to actually teach. But you can do that after, while you get a job. So that piqued my interest. I'm like, "Oh, that sounds really, really interesting." And I looked into it and took the practical test, took the written test, was prepared for that. A job opened up at Westfield Tech Academy, and I applied for it. And Clem Fucci and Steve Pippin were the people that hired me in that school 20
Mhm.
years ago. And I love it. So it's the best of both worlds. I get to teach, help young people, start their lives off with a great career, and I still get to play with the cool machines. So
It's
so
awesome.
That's
kind
awesome.
of the best of both worlds, yeah.
So cool. Hey guys, it's Nick from Making Chips, and I just wanted to tell you if you're looking to push your shop forward this year, you need to be at the DN Solutions Manufacturing Without Limits event. That's where I'll be at the DN Solutions Chicago Tech Center May 5th and 6th, and I'll be standing next to a lights out monster, a DVF 5000 with a Hennig workflow feeding the beast. And they're running more than 15 other machines live on the floor, not just demos, live cutting too. Plus, you'll have expert led seminars, automation insights, and the chance to talk directly with engineers and other manufacturers solving the exact same challenges you have. And they're making it easy. Breakfast and lunch are included both days, so you just show up and focus on learning. If you want to see what's possible for your shop, this is the place. Register now at the link in the show notes or visit dn-solutions.com. That's dn-solutions.com.
So I know that some programs struggle with getting enough students interested on the front end.
Mhm.
How is that in your area? What's the dynamic like, and
So over the
is
course
the
of 20 years, it's changed a lot. We used to be like, so we take 16 students per year into our program. And we used to always be full. We used to have a waiting list, actually, like 23 or 24 kids would apply, and we'd narrow it down. Sometimes we'd take 16 to 18 kids, depending. But it is getting more and more challenging, and I just think it has to do a lot with just mechanical things, mechanical aptitude. When I was a kid, I had to mow the lawn. So if the lawnmower broke, I was cutting it with scissors. So I figured out how to fix it. You know what I mean? It was like my chore was the grass is getting cut. You figure it out, so I would
Better
if
fix
the
that mower
lawnmower
then.
broke, it's or whatever, your chainsaw off your bike, you fix it.
Oh,
That
man.
those types of things have gone away, it's just kinda, with all of the social media and cell phones and all that kinda stuff, not that I'm blaming any of it, but it has changed our culture a lot, and not for nothing, when I was in middle school, we had something called industrial arts. I don't know what other areas have, but industrial arts is as a 7th and 8th grade student, I took sewing, I took culinary arts. There was machine shop, there was wood shop, there was metal fab. So you got and each of those things was just a semester. So you got introduced to all the things. That has gone away. The standardized test,
Mhm.
Massachusetts standardized test is called MCAS. When that came, that started become the focus. So they need more time to do that stuff. So unfortunately, all these hands-on type things started, getting taken out of schools. So I think that has a lot to do with it too. So there's a little bit less interest. And I guess it's not even the interest; it's just the knowledge coming into the school. But
Yeah,
one of
for
our
sure.
struggles is these young people coming into school, and I'll talk to the freshmen all the time. Like, how many of you know what a carpenter does? They can all raise their hand. Well, how many of you know what an electrician does? They can all raise their hand. I say, how many of you know what a machinist does? Or manufacturing's all about? Very few raise their hand unless there's a machinist in the family because people don't know what that's all background stuff. This is where it all
Mhm.
starts.
Mhm.
So it's getting that knowledge across. And this year, one of the things that is starting to re-engage young people's interest in manufacturing for us is 3D printing. Because part of what we do manufacturing, but we also have an engineering component. So we're obviously teaching CAD and CAM and things like that. So right from the 1 weeks, I've got them, open up Autodesk Inventor, and we do some little CAD things that, they're actually logos for TikTok and so a lot of these social media things that these guys use, and it's interesting to them. And then we go over to 3D printers, and they can 3D print something they made. So that immediate gratification thing, which is another thing, young people have.
Mhm.
So that has helped us a little bit in piquing the interest of young people. We have 16 freshmen this year, so we are full. We changed quite a few things. What I did during the exploratory, I actually let them all make 3D printed Lego cars. So all I had to do is make the bottom part had to be a specific size. Other than that, they can do whatever they want. You give young people some creativity, you find out who's good. You know what I mean? Some of these
Mhm.
they came up with stuff like, wow, you've never used this software before, and they're creating all of this stuff, and of course it's not constrained or anything, but it's and then I had a racetrack that I bought, and we ended up racing them, back from my Cub Scout days. And
Yes,
they ended up
Pioneer
laughing. They
Derby.
loved it. So turned into a little bit of competition. One of the other things I did is we make tops on the track machine, but then I had them 3D print bodies that would go over, and we did battle tops. So we just pull a string and the tops are made. So just kind of to make it fun. So most of the students this year that came through on the 1 weeks, their excitement and interest level is much higher. Why they
Mhm.
choose what they choose, though, there's still the misnomer that manufacturing's dirty. It's a dirty trade. So a lot of times moms and dads will say, you don't want that trade. I want you to go into. We also have an aviation program in our school. So there's only like, I don't know, two high schools in the country that have aviation programs, and it's not a flying program. It's equivalent to auto tech what auto tech is to cars. It's what it is
Mhm.
for planes. So that's a novelty. It's usually talked about in our area because it's so rare. So it gets a lot of airtime. So there's a lot of people that
Mhm.
come to school for that, and we're I don't wanna say battling, but we're looking for the same caliber student, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of them they'll pick. So when they pick too, they don't some shops fill up. So what they'll do is they'll say, "I want aviation first, manufacturing second," kind of thing. And there's usually a high number of the individuals in the aviation program had us as second, but as stellar young people, they got into that program, which is that's a opportunities for young people. It's
Mhm.
good for them if they go through it and they can be successful there as well.
So, I'm curious to ask, the fact that your program even exists at all and it's survived for more than 100 years, is that just something that's happening at the state level? Because I don't feel like every state is having technical schools
Well,
in their
yeah, and that's what
communities.
I don't know about in New England tech, like all of the areas, every young person in public education in our area has the availability to go to a tech school. So even
Okay.
if so for instance, I grew up in South Hadley, which is a town around here that doesn't have it has a traditional high school. But if I wanted to go to a tech school, I would have went to Pathfinder Regional Vocational Technical High School or Smith Vocational Technical High School. So every young person in our area has the availability. So yeah, I can't speak to what happens in other areas, but
Mm,
in the New England area, all the New England states around here have the availability to be able to go to a tech school.
okay.
And then Gary, if I was hearing you right, I think you said you used to have a wait list. Now you're struggling to even get to 16. But you also said, if I heard you correctly, that when they get there, they're already kind of like committed to manufacturing, super interested in manufacturing. So has that changed where there was more like tire kicking in the past, and then the 16 you have are like, I definitely know I want to be in a technical trade?
Well, sometimes we get number 2 choices as well. So like I said, so that's where, yeah, they really wanted, you know, I call it basket weaving because I just make up jobs where, they wanted basket weaving,
Everyone needs those. We got to have baskets.
right?
So
But so there are sometimes we
thank
have,
a basket weaver.
Thank a basket weaver. I was just gonna say.
uh so yeah, there's a lot of times, so we'll get like out of our 15 students, all of them weren't first choice manufacturing, but once they're in there, they if they have any kind of mechanical inclinations, they end up enjoying it, loving it, especially once they see the success of the upperclassmen going out and making money. The quote unquote struggle again, I think just has to do with mechanical. People I one of our struggles in even teaching the kids compared to 20 years ago, I really have to sit there and explain to them which way to turn something to loosen or tighten it. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the basic mechanical,
Mm,
and not through any fault of their own. It's just kind of the way society has gone, right? I mean, people don't even fix their cars anymore. They just buy new ones every 3 years. You go get a new one, right? It's where when I was a kid, I was fixing the car with my dad and do it. You know what I mean? So um, a lot of that kind of stuff has changed. One of the things there is a big STEM push in our area, science, technology, engineering, and math, which has helped us as well because we fall into that engineering aspect. We have an
Mhm.
engineering aspect to what we do. We do have the occasional student that will go to some of our companies. It's rare that they go in as like an engineering apprentice, but a lot of times they will want someone who knows CAD very well, and they're going to come in. They're updating blueprints, things like that, or they're taking things they don't have solid models of, and the young person creates a solid model, and then maybe someone else cams it or does something with it, or there's room for promotion from within. But it's another skill set that a lot of our young people. So
mhm.
we teach to the whole ball of wax, and that's another thing. We'll have students that really enjoy the CAD or really enjoy running machining centers, but aren't crazy about lathes. So but we teach it all, so we cover all of it, so they get excited. There's something to keep their interest in.
Gary, you mentioned a couple things that connect to like gamification, this buzzword that people use, but
Yeah,
the instant gratification was one of them, and then being able to like quickly make something and then get the accolades, get that instant reward and see it, the kind of personalization of like, oh, this is my little social media sign or whatever.
right.
What other aspects are kind of surprising or different from students of today than students of the past?
For our trade area, what's different?
Yeah, like what surprises you? What surprises people about the students today than that's totally different than how students used to be? I can say like I know we have an apprenticeship program at our company, and the amount of students that want to get through however many thousand hours doing the same thing and before they can
Right.
advance to the next thing.
Yeah.
Games, when you think of games, like it's once you beat it, you get to the next level. Once you can do it, you get to the next level, and you don't have to put a certain amount of time in on the same repetitive thing over and over again. And that's how our apprenticeship has changed. But are you noticing differences in how to cater the education for the way people are wired and how students today are different than students
Right.
in the
So
past?
we added a lot more. Well, one of the things we used to do is because of manufacturing, you make it correctly to the print.
Hmm.
So one of the things we used to here's your print. You make a mistake, you remake it. You make a mistake, you remake it. We stopped doing that for that same reason, because then a lot of times they get jaded by the project, bored with the project, upset with doing it again. This whole idea of, oh, I got to do it again. I got to do it again. Our thought process behind that is, well, you have to learn to make it right. But we're looking for them to gain skills. So a lot of times if they make an error, it's like, okay, well, you made this error. We talk about the error, how to make the error. And then so we've had to increase our number of projects. We have to
Mhm.
come up with new and interesting projects that still have the same, realistically, they are doing the same thing. So there is repetition, but in their mind, it's a different part. It's a different print. They're just using the same skills over and over again. So we have had to change kind of that level of quote unquote boredom that they have, attention span. So, things that take a long time, even if it's the same part, they end up getting bored with. So we've had to break the project down into smaller chunks, even in the way that we provide information for them. So for instance, we used to, by the time when they came to the track, so we give them the project, we explain to them how to um be able to program, make a part, things like that. Now is their first attempt on, say, a track lathe. The program's already done. They're just learning how to set up the tools rather than set up the tools, make the whole part, run the program the part. So we've broken it down into smaller chunks to keep them meeting what little successes, right?
Yeah.
So instead of the goal being way over here, here's the goal, here's the goal, here's the goal, here's the goal. Now we got to here. So yeah, we've had to change our curriculum for that. Our curriculum style, I dance in front of the class. I say to keep their interest. It's like I come in, I'm your live YouTube video. It's like you can't, there can't be, if you what used to be, it's like before I could have like 15 minutes of dictation or explanation of something. Now you can't. After 5 minutes, they're like, oh my God, Mr. Nadeau's still talking. So
If you're not playing the drums or dancing,
yeah,
they
that's right. Yeah, well, I do that too. I get the
Ugh.
sticks of this, but yeah, to keep their interest, that has changed. Even like you said, the exploratory, getting the track and all that kind of stuff. That has nothing to do with manufacturing, but after they build their cars, they get to race their cars. So it just that coming up with things to keep their interest or get them excited or maintain their excitement about things. Because yeah, I mean, we're all like that, right? We're we just need constant stimulus. Nobody ever sits still
yeah, I feel like it's
and
getting
just
worse because of things
enjoys.
like social media and
Right,
all
Absolutely.
these apps, where you gotta have those little dopamine hits
right,
constantly.
right,
You've been doom scrolling for 3 hours watching clips of, Paul making people cry on Make
yeah,
It Check, so
yeah, right.
Uh Paul, tell me about your trip to Italy.
I went there with the NTMA and we got to tour SMW Autoblok, two different facilities. Absolutely blew me away. World class, enormous places. I can't even count how many machines there were, but so much automation. One of the most incredible takeaways for me was the breadth of what they made. I did not know they made so many work holding products and automation products. And I loved watching a big chuck machine a little chuck. So they were machining chucks in huge lathes. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, you introduced them to me after you came back, and they've been to my shop. And the ideas they have to like breathe new life into some of my machines and the tools and the jobs that we're running was just shocking.
And then one of the coolest things is we're bringing this new automated pallet delivery system, the Hennig workflow, to market. And guess what the interface is? It's SMW 0 point locators. It's really sweet.
We're getting ready to get some of those.
So, how do people find SMW Autoblok to look through that massive catalog of products?
It's SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
Yeah, get rid of that C. SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
I think of this as a supply and demand issue. The demand is certainly there. Like as you said, 100% placement rate. There's more than enough machine shops that want your graduates.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to talk about how shops get involved
Mhm.
in offering those co-op, and maybe how Gary specifically from Spectrum, is involved in the program. I mean, do you have an advisory board? Do shops like help say, hey, this is what we need out of graduates these days? Um, and then if you have any ideas on the supply side beyond trying to make your class more engaging, like how do we get a greater percentage of students to wanting to do the technical side? Is it we got to get the parents convinced it's not dark, dirty, and dangerous? We got to, you know, raise the awareness that machinists are an essential part, the most essential part of the economy, because even carpenters and electricians would not have a job without a machinist.
Uh,
So yeah, how do we solve both sides of that? But let's start on the demand side. Let's talk about the machine shops and how they can engage. If they're, if someone's listening and they're not engaged with their local technical high school, what should they do to get engaged? What do you need from industry?
Basically just a contact person. For us, one of the things is, and we like to have a wide variety because we have, a wide variety of students. So you met a couple of the people that
Yeah,
uh,
Chuck.
so
Chuck
right,
was
like
immensely
he's
impressive.
up here, right? So there, and he's in our, like I said, our top 20. He was an awesome student. He was valedictorian of his class, real go getter, problem solver, thinker. And we have all level of students, and we can get them all jobs. And but in order to do that, we have to have a large business base. And our communication with the business and industry, we have a lot of conversations with them when we're getting ready to place. We do have an advisory board. On that advisory board, there's shop owners and shop foremen, and we actually have past graduates, we have parents, we've had past students, so that we're getting constant feedback. The industry changes immensely all the time. I've been teaching now for 22 years, and I do professional development to keep up to date with the new technologies and stuff like that. But one of the things is we're a school, we don't have money. So my
Mhm.
biggest drawback in knowledge is tooling. So a lot of times we'll reach out to business industry, say, "Hey, you wanna come and stand in front of the young people, and, we'll have someone from Sandvik come in and talk about tools and explain tooling, cutter, material removal, and why we use ceramic inserts instead of, tin coated insert," stuff like that. So it gets the young people to see the importance of what they're learning, and why it's important to pay attention and learn. So
Mhm.
we get business and industry to come in and do things like that. But as far as having a connection with if they reach out, to myself or Ron in our area, which it happens quite a bit, technical school. So and I think around in this area, it's pretty well known that if you reach out to the technical schools, what cooperative education is all about. We also in our facility for probably the first up until I think COVID is what kinda stalled the program. We used to do a night program where we did a 300-hour. They were 300 hour, then I got funding cut to 150 hours. Sometimes it was just classes, but we were teaching after our day was done with the kids, we would stay there and we would teach adults. And there was a regional employment board out of Springfield, Massachusetts, that went out there and they found unemployed or underemployed individuals who were interested in learning machining. So that was another way that we supplied, to the pipeline
Mhm.
of machinists.
Well, I hear that as a call to action. You don't have the resources to do all the outreach. So if people, in shops or suppliers to shops, it's the onus is on them to go
Right.
find out where the technical high schools are, reach out, say, "Hey, I want to help. I want to be a part of this."
Right. Our thing well, one of the things we do that's what business industry. We do things like we go into the middle schools, we go into the elementary schools, try to at least drop a pebble in the pond for young people, the idea of, well, what we
Yeah.
do, parent outreach, things like that. We have at the end of the year, we have an open house. Our open house, we probably have more people in the manufacturing area in the open house than any of the other shops. Because what we do, we're usually supported by business and industry, again, because of their need. So, they're invited. We'll usually have all along the hallway, there'll be tables, and there'll be anywhere from 15 to 20 shops in the area that hire
Nice.
our students to answer questions of parents and young people. A lot of times, middle school students and parents will come in. So, yeah, just community awareness, that kind of thing
Mhm.
about what we are. Um, the opportunities, the financial opportunities for these young people. They come here. How
Yeah.
many I didn't get to make 10 grand my senior year by working every other week. You know?
Yeah, that's real money for, someone in high
It is,
school.
it is.
Yeah.
It's
Better than
a lot of
driving
these guys got
pizza.
nicer cars than me.
Hey, Gary, you talked about the need in industry, and I know something that we do with we're very closely connected with the local technical college, and we have some influence over the curriculum.
Mhm.
You know, the needs in the industry is, hey, if we get one of these students who graduates, hopefully they can make our parts. Hopefully they are somewhat familiar with what we need them to do instead of more broader general. That's adorable, by the way.
You
Where's Mike when you need him?
This
Uh,
is you didn't
yeah,
think
for these
I
been watching on
got
video,
home from work. That's what
we
yeah,
got a
he's got a
puppy
big
here.
puppy on his lap, it's cute. But you know what I mean? Like, can they make the parts that we're gonna need them to make when we hire them after their education? And so we get some influence. They have to get a broad general understanding of machining or welding or fabrication or whatever the school is, but do they get to have some influence over the curriculum, Gary? Like,
Yeah, so
what you
that's
guys
what
are
our
teaching?
advisory board does. So they'll come,
Okay.
and every year we talk about our curriculum, review our curriculum. We also have an articulation agreement with a local community college, which STCC is Springfield Technical Community College. They have a manufacturing engineering program. We've had people from we meet with them. They don't necessarily come to our advisory committee, but I was on their advisory committee. I go to the meetings for their advisory board for there's what they teach, what they cover. We align and match with them. So our students can go from a high school program and they can skip up to 4 classes in the engineering program at Stick because we cover that same material.
Mm.
Oh, cool.
They come in, review what we do, what we talk about. One of the unfortunate things that has recently happened to us is, and this year has been a struggle, we lost one of our teachers. We used to have 4 instructors. We went down to 3 instructors. Business and industry fought it. We had all kinds of letters go, to the school board, the school committee. It was still decided that they were gonna defund one of our teachers, and which, yeah, that immensely hurt. So that was a big problem. And then we're like, okay, we got one less teacher, so we actually had a couple of related classes that had to go away because one of the thing in our school, so related classes are when they're in their academic week, they still come down to our shop and that's where we cover. I used to teach Tech Math 1, Tech Math 2, Tech Math 3. That was a sophomore, junior, senior year. They had that. They have blueprint reading, GD&T, CNC manual programming where they're actually typing out G code to make parts, to do programs, running it through Vericut software, things like that. We maintained as many of those as we could, but we had to drop a couple of them because there was times when 2 teachers are in classrooms teaching related classes, and then we have, because it's every other week, we always have 2 classes of student. We have freshmen with seniors and sophomore with juniors, so, um, it made it too difficult. So, that is one of the things that actually our advisory board is currently trying to help us get that teacher back.
Good.
So when we meet with them, they advocate for us, they talk to we review curriculum with them. The other thing is we're vocational education it's called Chapter 74 education, and just like any school curriculum, there's specific frameworks that we need to teach to. Those have gotten 2 years ago, I think they just updated them because prior to that, you still had, I don't know, things like, teaching a rotary table and things that you don't use very often anymore because of
Mhm.
track machines and CNC machines, so they updated all of that, so, that dictates some of our curriculum. We went over that with our advisory committee, went through those frameworks, which of these things are important because the eastern part of the state's a little bit different than our part of the state, as far as the types of things that they make, what's important. There's a lot more money over there, so they have a lot more CNCs where we have a lot more small job shops that still do have a manual lathe in the corner and a manual Bridgeport in the corner that they want somebody to run.
Mm.
So through those conversations, we generate the changes that we need to make in our curriculum.
I was gonna ask what's the most frustrating thing, and you may have just answered it. To me, you think about look, I'm not managing these budgets, but you think about, like, what to cut, and funding for machining instructors is, like, gotta be, like, last on the list in my mind. Like, one of the most important things for our country, our national security, the yeah, just great
Yeah, one
careers.
of
It's
our
like, what are they prioritizing ahead of that? It's just
well,
insane.
so one of the problems in education is it's not it's a lot of it has to do with money and what looks good on a piece of paper. So advanced manufacturing is a company that we deal with. I mean, their national security goes to there on a regular basis. I mean, they're a huge defense company. They make parts for nuclear submarine things like that. And he's one of our biggest advocates and supporters.
Good.
Because another thing that business and industry does help with is we're a school, right? Not for nothing, but manufacturing is an expensive trade area.
Mhm.
I mean, we're not cutting wood or paper, we're cutting metal and material. And they usually support us, which one of the things what our school system doesn't understand is a lot of the money we get advanced manufacturing, they'll write us a check for, oh, you need this machine, CNC machine crash. It was once it was 8,000. I crushed the spindle. If I was Joe Blow's machine shop, it would have cost me 8 grand to get that repaired. Fortunately, we also have repair companies that'll donate their time and stuff like that, so it wasn't that much money, but advanced manufacturing will pay for the repair. We don't have money in a budget somewhere for machine repair and things like that. But ironically enough, what's interesting is there was just this capital skills grant for manufacturing all across Massachusetts. We got $1 million grant 2 years ago. We were able, or 3 years ago, we spread it out over the course of 2 years. Got a whole bunch of new equipment. And we ended up with a Haas. It's not a full blown 5 axis machine, but it had a 5 axis rotary attachment to it, 5 axis attachment to it. We haven't even gotten around to be able to teach it now because we need time to develop curriculum for stuff like that, things that we need. You don't just say, hey, go run this, kid. We have to
Mhm.
develop a project, develop curriculum around that, and all of those things take time. And now because we got a teacher removed, we haven't had time to be able to do that. So yeah, the priority isn't always. Yeah, I'm not sitting in those seats, so I'm not judging. But yeah, the decision was not well received, and we're still trying to see if we can get that changed. Budget's still coming up. So actually, we just advisory committee, our last five advisory committee meeting, we got all business industry. We created letters, send out to the school board, the superintendent, the administration in our building, things like that, to try and promote the importance of bringing that teacher back.
Seems like there's such a disconnect because I know there's certainly initiatives that the federal government and the military is involved with, like makesubmarines.com or whatever that is with the
I think it's
Navy.
Build Submarines, but
Buildsubmarines.com,
yeah.
thank you. Yeah. So,
And
they're
isn't there like that
putting
Blue Forge thing too?
yeah,
Is
Blue
something
Forge Alliance
very
is very
similar?
much involved in that. Yep. So, there's a lot of initiatives to put a huge amount of emphasis and money and resources towards those things, but it seems like the dots aren't being connected. That this starts with your program,
Mhm.
and middle schoolers being interested in joining your program. So that is something that needs to get solved. I don't know what the answer is, but we'll keep working on it.
Yeah, my hair wasn't always this gray. That's one I've been trying to figure that one out for quite a while. And again, it's education, so it's a system. So there's so many people making the decisions, and the people making the decisions are pretty far removed from the classrooms. They're not saying that what you're doing is not important. They just look at the dollar signs or whatever. So and I don't know, I don't know how to change that other than, again, getting our business like advanced manufacturing. They're probably one of the biggest taxpayers in Westfield is writing this letter say, hey, you need to maintain this program and keep the teacher in the program. And I'm not saying it fell on deaf ears, but it didn't make any difference. They still let a teacher go.
Mm. Hey, everybody. You know everyone's pushing AI into quoting right now. And look, AI can be powerful, but in manufacturing, it can also be risky. If you don't know where your RFQs are going, who can access them, or how your data is being handled, that's a serious problem. And that's where we talk about secure AI. And that's where Paperless Parts stands out. Paperless Parts is built specifically for manufacturers. Their CMMC compliant platform uses secure AI to take the busy work off of your estimators, organizing RFQ packages, surfacing key details, and centralizing your entire quoting workflow so your team can focus on actually estimating. And when they say secure, they mean it. They maintain rigorous security standards, including a FedRAMP moderate equivalent security posture verified by a third party assessment organization. It's built for shops preparing for CMMC Level 2. If you want the speed of AI without the risk, go to paperlessparts.com. That's paperlessparts.com. Quoting made simple, profitable, and powerful. And let's go to the other side. So, what's the most rewarding aspect? Or
Oh,
maybe you could tell some stories like,
It's
yeah.
like what it's just so for me personally and that's why I said it's the best of both worlds. I love my job. I love being a teacher. I love making parts and being a machinist as well. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But to take young people realistically when they're freshmen, I'm like, no, no, turn that the other way. You're tightening, not loosening. To going out and being, the foreman in a shop And not for nothing, Spectrum Machine, they work on some pretty crazy stuff, you know?
Yeah, they have parts that are $1,000,000 a piece.
$1,000,000 parts, Paul?
Uh,
Yeah, you didn't
Wha
see my post last week, Nick? Come on, buddy.
right,
No,
so
no,
Yeah,
no,
that
no,
sorry.
I'm just joking, I'm just joking. Yes.
I was
Yeah, it's
fasting from social
I
media.
forget the size of the machine. He purchased a machine big enough you can drive a Volkswagen in the thing because of the part they
Gosh,
made, and
that's
the
awesome.
the piece of stock goes in there. I forget what it weighed, but it comes out weighing 28 pounds when it went in weighing 20,
yeah, I think it's a
25.
2,500-pound forging and comes out at 80 pounds or
Yeah, something
something,
like
and
it's
it's $1,000,000.
crazy, crazy,
Yeah,
stuff that I'm like,
and
"Ooh, I'm glad my kids have to work on that because I don't know if I could figure it out,"
Yeah,
you
you
know what I mean?
scrap that
well
part, you got some splaining to do.
Um,
well, that's the point, Chuck, who graduated from Gary's program, is the foreman of this company now,
yeah.
and what, 10 years later? I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
exactly,
somewhere in that area, yeah,
you know
and
you know
that's the most rewarding part of the job, like,
That
to
is so
see
cool.
yeah,
that, to be a part of that, to be involved in these young people's lives, to help guide them and make them successful, and, my favorite why it's bittersweet. One of my favorite times of the year is graduation, and it's not because of the students that are graduating, that's the piece I'm sad about. I get these kids for the whole week, every other week for 3 years I've been working with them. And junior year, I'm primary myself and Ron are their primary teachers, so we're with them, 7 hours a day. We probably see them more than their parents see them. We've developed great relationships with them. So when they graduate, there's a little bittersweet. I'm great to see them go off, but I'm gonna miss them, right? Because I care about all the students I have. But they all have had siblings that went through the school in the program, or one of their siblings graduated from a different program. I see past graduates at graduation every year, and they'll come up and tell me the car they're driving, the house they just bought. One of them, so we have the Kapoor family. I want to say there was 8 or 9 children in that family, and the majority of them went through our program. So the oldest one has 3 kids, a house, he's worked at different so they come in same thing with open house. They come in and we meet these young people and they talk about their success and their happy life. What's better than that? I was a piece of that, or I was able to help them start with that. That's the most rewarding part of
You know
being
what it reminds me of? We just finished the college basketball tournament and March Madness, and you see them go back to the high school coaches of some of the star players,
Yeah, yeah,
and they talk, "Man, I loved that kid. He worked his butt off, and he was great for the team." And then
right,
now here he is on the national stage, and that's what I feel when I hear you talking about
yeah,
like Chuck and some of these students. It's like their high school coach when they went off to a great college career or maybe a pro career,
yeah,
and that's the vibe I just got. And it's I love how you said it's like yeah, we call it our Christmas presents because we get the new batch of kids to,
yeah.
educate, and I just think that is so cool. You could tell you have a really genuine passion for this.
Yeah. And the best ones are the ones that come back and said, "I'm so sorry I was such a pain to you." The ones that's in there because, you're some of 'em you gotta talk to like a Dutch uncle because they gotta be redirected quite often. When you and we make them all successful, regardless of what comes in, we make them all successful. I still say I've never met a bad kid. There might be some young people in front of me that don't have behaviors that I particularly care for, but we work on change. I've done a lot in my career with social emotional learning and things like that's another thing that has changed with the young people. So, again, for whatever reason, I do believe cell phones and social media have a lot to do with it,
It
but
does,
it's
yeah.
changed the thought process, the maturity levels, things like that in the young people. As a matter of fact, I mean, so the first smartphone production-wise came out like 2008, I think was the first iPhone. Somewhere around 2012, 2011, 2012, that's when I started to see an immense change in the resilience of a lot of our young people.
Mm,
Mm,
wow,
that's so
interesting. So, Gary, we need to start thinking about wrapping up here. Our audience is largely people in the machining industry, the metalworking nation, we call them.
mhm.
So, you've already talked a little bit about how they engage with your program, your local shops. But for people listening out there, what would you direct them to do? What would you inspire them to do in their own local communities,
Well, if
starting
they
next
have
week?
I mean, if there is a trade school in the area, support it, just whether it be, smaller shops maybe that can't financially support things, but a lot of times we've got, shops that say, "Hey, we have this job, we've got" either there's slugs out of it, so they're big
Mhm.
pieces of aluminum that came out of the middle. They donate them to school, and we use it for a project. So that support, because again, our our budget could never cover the actual cost of what it costs to teach the young people to purchase the materials and stay
Mhm.
current with business and industry. So that's one way. If there's a trade school in your area, think to reach out, say, hey, we got this stuff, make a donation here, give them a contact. Say when you have students, we'd love to see come in and go into the schools and maybe talk about things you could offer in presentation wise. We do field trip. Another support way we get supporters, we do field trips at local shop. That's a great way kids go and say, wow, you go into advanced manufacturing, you're seeing stuff that's going on a nuclear submarine. They're like, that's pretty amazing to them. And then the other thing is if there are grassroots programs that can reach out to unemployed or underemployed, if there's any of that in the area, find out if they can start utilizing ways to educate people like that. Like we had that after school program and stuff like that. So in shop, maybe they have, if they don't work 3 full shifts, maybe they have a way to find an educator that can come in and teach people after school or things like that. So
Mhm.
I think you have to get a little bit creative in ways to reach out. But like you said, our area, we have technical school. So that's primarily the way that
I
we.
like what you said about the, unused material, scrap material or crop cuts or whatever it might be. That's worth a lot more to a technical school than it is, for whatever scrap dollars a shop
Right.
could get. That's a great way to start a relationship.
And we give tax write-off sheets. So if you donate those, but the value of that aluminum is $2,000, you'll get a tax write-off slip for a donation of $2,000 to
Yeah,
the
that's
local.
really great. I think a lot of shops would take advantage of that if they knew they could, because there's the reciprocity there. Like maybe the next grade student you recommend, hey, you should go work at that shop. And as we all know, shops are looking for great talent. So
Yeah.
that's a really creative idea.
Gary, if people want to reach out and learn more directly from you about how they can do something in their own communities, where would you connect? So I guess they reach out.
Well, Westfield Technical Academy, we have our, the website, WTA.org, I believe it is, or g.nadeau at schoolsofwestfield.com. That's
Okay, we'll make
my,
sure those are all linked.
but yeah, it's just looking into the technical schools in your area. I'm sure they all have websites.
Yep. Well, Gary, we talk about how important machinists are. A lot of them wouldn't become machinists without people like you out there doing the hard work to teach them and inspire them. So thank you so much for what you do. It's really
I
important and
appreciate
we
it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and forward this to whoever might make the decision on refunding that
Yeah.
other
Yeah, you
instructor,
bet.
because
You
we're all
bet.
for it.
Yeah.
So, Nick, how are we going to wrap this one up?
Yeah, I
You're
just
good
think.
at,
I mean, look, I think if you can't get talent into your shop, you're not making chips,
and if you're not making chips,
not making money.
bam.
Bam.